Back to relationship talk. And this time I got two questions. Are you the father, the man you want your daughter to marry? Are you the mother, the woman you want your son to marry? Are you the woman you want your son to marry? Are you the man you want your daughter to marry? I think those are two important questions here when we're talking about relationships and if parents are being the living examples to their sons and their daughters. When we talk about relationships, marriage, marriage being the end goal, the championship of relationships. But are the men out here the type of man that they want their daughter going out with? Ladies, are you the type of woman you want your son going out with? And we have to be honest with ourselves. You do have mothers and fathers out here who are not examples of who their children should date, but they're under the same roof. And, that has to be changed, within that household. And there's so many households out there like this. And obviously, people who are doing it in a way that seems conducive to where their sons and their daughters will have healthier relationships can actually see on a daily basis what's going on in these households where the mother is not the shining example of what a wife should be for her son to see, and dad is not the shining example of a husband of who his daughter is seeing on a regular basis. And so we can't be in everybody's home underneath their roof. And, it affects everybody as an ecosystem because those sons and daughters are going to meet the other sons and daughters, and then you'll see toxicity, button heads, because it's like, who raised you? This is where we come from, where I come from, but they didn't see those examples. So I think men really need to take some time out and be the type of husband, type of man you want your daughter to be with. Ladies, you got to do the same thing and be that type of example that you want your son to be with in terms of a wife, when he asks a woman for her hand in marriage. So we really have to be conscious of all of that, especially what's going on in social media, the Pop the Balloon series, and how people are getting rejected for superficial things. These dating apps, Tinder, Plenty of Fish. Don't forget about AshleyMadison.com, where you have people secretly stepping out on their marriages so they can just have no strings attached. All of these things out here that kind of push back against what relationships are meant for. The dating apps not necessarily, but you have people on Plenty of Fish and Tinder only looking for sex. So, I don't know what's their success rate in terms of long-lasting relationships. But Ashley Madison for sure is just a hookup place for people who are married and they just looking to step outside of the marriage but still keep their marriages intact. I don't know if people who are not married are registered on that site, but it's geared towards married people because they both have something to lose, so they know to both keep it quiet. And so that's one thing that we're dealing with. Because I had some points I wanted to go over as well, and I'm going to bring those up. But that Ashley Madison, that site, it's a result of just the culture, I think. It's been around for some years now. Infidelity is running rampant. Men are cheating, women are cheating. Unfortunately, we're getting kids out of these situations. The kids are suffering. And then you have a site like Ashley Madison that, profits off of it. I don't know how much it costs to register and get on, but I do know that when the site was hacked back in 2015, I've said this before, only 2 zip codes were not registered on Ashley Madison for married people looking to step out on their marriage. Those 2 zip codes are in the state of Alaska. So out of all 50 states, still including Alaska, every zip code is registered on that site just in case a husband wants to have some extra fun or a wife wants to have some extra fun. Some couples, married couples, may be registered on there on purpose because they, the whole swinging culture, whatever you into. But, that just goes to show where we are in 2024 with dating and relationships. Everybody registered on that site and whatever else is out there. So, yeah, that's Ashley Madison. Discrete relationships. Now, some of the points I wanted to get into, in terms of, people not being walking examples of who they want their children to date, because it starts at home with mom and dad. You can't get mad or be surprised with who your 15-year-old brings home. And you like, well, how did this happen? How did you even gravitate towards this type of individual? Well, then mom and dad have to look in the mirror. Because your children will date and someone will be coming to your home. So mom and dad right now, if your child is under 15, get ready for that. If you need to change something about yourself, talking to the mothers and fathers out there, please do so right now. Because you're going to see it in your son and your daughter when they bring that first person home. Mark my words. Now, when we talk about people who never saw a marriage growing up, that can be an impact. You never saw your parents married. My parents weren't married. Now, that doesn't mean that children can't come out of that and be productive in their relationships and have healthy relationships. But you still have men and women, since they've never seen a marriage, not knowing how to be husbands and wives, and where they've learned to try and be something similar to that. They go into the internet, which isn't the best place to see, husband and wife examples. I mean, they may be on there, but people keep going towards the women bashing of men and men bashing of women, and what the list should be and the standards. And so, you getting what a husband should be like from social media, what a wife should be like from social media. They may have some good points in there, but it can also be pushing men and women in the wrong direction since they didn't see it at home. We talking at least 18 years of being at home, day in, day out, breakfast with the family, dinner with the family, vacations, holidays, going to church, and just seeing mom and dad together. I mean, even if they weren't even married, just together. Because, marriage, again, that's just a piece of paper. And you have people who are married who aren't exhibiting, they're not showing what it means to be husband and wife. Yet you have people who never been married, but they show that. And so if you're not necessarily seeing that, not that mom and dad have to be legally married, then, you lost out here in terms of how do I be a wife? How do I be a husband? Those are the questions you're asking yourself. So if you saw that at home growing up, it definitely helps. And there are people who have seen it and, are out here on the dating scene. So they pull their expectations from that. And so that's something positive just because of what they saw. Now, certain things may need to be adjusted because times have changed in terms of roles and finances, but they still saw that foundation of having, mom and dad married under one roof. So that's always good. So, moving on to the next point, where can people look, like I said, for examples to be married outside their childhood home if, their mom and dad weren't married? And I said the internet is what we have it now. But, if you had a next door neighbor, your grandparents, uncle and auntie, I would say look at those. If you're in church and the pastor, he's normally married, take a look at that and other people in your church home who may be married just to get those examples before you go to the internet. Now you got some people who've been around you as you've grown up, some homegrown examples to kind of, steer you on your way in terms of what you should look for, ladies, in a husband, guys, what you should look for in a wife, and just what your expectations of that person will be, and how many kids you want to have, what city you want to live in, the square footage of the house, what type of vehicle do you all want to drive, joint bank accounts, retirement, possible plans to start own business, the spending. And that's just all of the external things. We didn't even get into the internal, dealing with the actual character. 5 things that you can name about a person that has nothing to do with their education, their bank account, the clothes they have, kindness, intelligence, caring, loving, understanding. Do they listen just to respond, or do they actually listen to hear? All of those intangibles, those internal things as well. That's the character of a person, of a man, of a woman. So, all of these things come into play. And you also have to look at your interests. Just look at, when you all first meet, what you're into. What do you look at on the internet? What are you consuming? We're not just consuming just food and beverage for the physical. Your mental and your spiritual also depends on what you're looking at on TV, what you're listening to as far as music, and what you look at on social media, of course, because everyone's walking around with this thing right here, this cell phone, more so than, obviously, you can't carry your TV around, so you're getting all of your media food right there in the palm of your hand. On the train, on the bus, at the gym, on the airplane, on the boat, all of that. This is your 24-hour screen right here. And so you also have to check what you're taking in, and for somebody that's dating, look at the things that they subscribe to. Look at who they're following. These people, the person you call yourself dating isn't into these things for no reason. I would even say look at who they have on their screensaver on their cell phone. You see their laptop, what's the screensaver? Is it a vehicle? Is it a vacation spot? Check the Instagram or the Twitter, now it's called X, of the person you're with. What are their posts like? That'll give you more of an idea. Now, some people aren't on social media, or they have an account and they don't post a lot. But then again, still look at when you are watching television and they're picking to see what they're going to on YouTube, see what they're going to, again, what's their screensaver on their phone. There's other things as far as also just talking to them, but if you can't get it necessarily out of them through conversation, you can just look at the things that they go look at on the internet, YouTube specifically, the videos, what's being talked about in those videos. You can learn a lot, stuff that they're looking at when you're not around. And so all of that plays a part in, can you relate to this person? So don't just blow any of that stuff off in terms of what someone clicks a like on, who you're dating, a certain post. Look at what they're sharing. All of that says that, okay, I'm in agreement with that. And does that line up with what you have going on? And even if it doesn't, that don't mean it's necessarily a deal breaker when we talk about being equally yoked. But, different men and women out here have their deal breakers when it comes to what the relationship has to end. And that's something that has to be talked about too. Now, I also want to talk about, is marriage broken right now? I would say it is, only because people are getting married for the wrong reasons. And so you see it as not being valued. You see infidelity going on in marriage. You see AshleyMadison.com. So people are taking marriage for granted and they're treating it like a joke. And that's not cool at all. So it is broken. It can work. But in general, it's broken and it's on a decline. And so that's why you see a lot of people from my generation, the millennial generation, not even being married. Those are people born 1981 to 1997. So you see it on the decline right with my generation. I've never been married, but I know people who are married. I know people who are divorced. And I know other people who've never been married as well. So, it runs the whole spectrum of it. And, that's fine. But it definitely is broken. I would still get married, but I'm also aware of, the downfalls of where it could go, the financial implications of it, and you having to split up things. People go through a lot with that. So it's something you two have to really be ready for, and don't rush into it. Otherwise, you're just going to add more to the stigma, unfortunately, that marriage has right now, where it's just not in the best interest. Especially, a lot of people say it's more benefits the woman than the man, because in the divorce court, the laws seem to favor the women more, and the men get the short end of the stick. So, you have that stigma with it, and that's something that we have to, and it may have to be a changing of court laws, marriage laws, things like that. Be careful what state you get married in, because then you get divorced in that same state. Then you need to understand, what's at stake for you, men and women. Yeah. So we all know stigma is can be a sort of shameful thing that gets applied to something. And, unfortunately, marriage has that spot on it that's, covering it up. I believe it can be fixed, but it's going to take a lot of work. But like I said, at the end of the day, I would still do it despite everything that I'm saying. I understand it's broken, and you got other people who are happy that they are divorced. And, at the end, it's still all a lesson. So we also have to keep that in mind, too. And so, I don't know if marriage is necessarily still part of people's relationship goals. If you've been with somebody for over 10 years now, you're not even engaged, well, do you all want to get married, or are you all good the way things are? I know there's another guy on YouTube, Black Magic 363, Brother Rich. He's got his second child on the way, and he's been with his girlfriend for 18 to 19 years now. He's in his early 40s. They're not married. And Brother Rich never talks about it, but everything's going good. They've got their one son already, so that's working for them. So I don't know. I think the whole thing about marriage, if we go into that, how much religion influences it. We all know this verse here. The Bible says, "He who finds a wife finds a good thing." I believe that, but how many people, men and women, are trying to get married just based off of that scripture alone, and versus trying to get married off of who's right there, them two, based on what they want. We shouldn't have any type of outside influences when it comes to being a married couple. Yeah, that Bible scripture can help shape your decision, that's a positive part of it, but that shouldn't be, okay, I read that scripture, let's get married. Or you hearing people on the internet say, go ahead and jump the broom. No. That woman and that man need to make that final decision. The other outside influences pushing you towards the altar, that's fine. But let's not, I never would let religion or anything else push me towards marrying a woman. It would have to be me and her decision. But religion plays a role, and there's a lot of peer pressure. And so you have people, again, getting married for the wrong reasons. You even have people getting married only because they have a child, and so now what they say, the man wants to make an honest woman out of her, and still getting married to people that they shouldn't have married in the first place. I don't care if you do have the child together. Probably shouldn't even have the child together, but that's neither here nor there at this part. But the marriage isn't going to make things better. Just like flip side, you have people who get married and think having that first child is wanting to fix the marriage, and no, it just makes the marriage worse. And now you done brought the child in, and now the child has to suffer through that man and that woman's mess. And so that's unfair to the child. So let's not let outside influences get us to the altar when we're not supposed to be there. You'll be in divorce court just as fast. So let's keep that in mind. All of this is, falling in line, relationships, marriage, children. Make sure the decisions are being made by that lady and that man. You can hear stuff that his parents say or her parents say or the pastor say and the pastor's wife say, or the internet, but please weigh the pros and cons of where you're at with each other, that woman and that man, before you all decide to get married. Whether it's going to be a big wedding or you all just want to elope or you just want to go to the courthouse, whatever you do it, be careful, be thoughtful. Don't rush into this. It's already broken. People continue to break it. We have to correct marriage and build it back up. They say you should marry your best friend. How many ladies have overlooked that guy friend they had? How many guys have overlooked that lady friend that they have? I'm not going to even say had, that they have. What's going on with that person? Who are they with? Just thinking back to the person who you would just sit on the porch with, front porch, and you all just playing some music. That's it. And how you all were able to vibe and connect. Think about that person sometimes. That may be the direction that you need to go in. Even if you're married already, your current marriage is not your end game. I look at people as prerequisites. We have that in college. You can't get to calculus 1 unless you take algebra trig. You might be on algebra trig now with this person, and same for them with you. But in order for you to get to calculus, you have to go through this person. You have to go through the divorce. So don't sweat all of that. I know everybody wants to do the perfect 1-0, married one time. And there are people who have done that. And then you got people like Steve Harvey who's on his 3rd marriage. So with Marjorie, so either this is going to be it for him, or neither him nor Marjorie have learned their lesson, and this is not going to last either. I don't know. But people are stepping stones to the next relationship, so don't be down and out just because something ends. Yeah, it's heartbreaking and it's something to get over, but understand that you all were both a lesson for each other for that time, and that doesn't necessarily mean that was going to be the end game. The end game is coming, and that'll be the person that there'll be continuous lessons until death do you all part for real. Even if you two don't even get legally married. That's just government and law coming in. Way before that, men and women were together, and they weren't obviously legally married. There was no system in place, but they stayed together forever. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Go to the next point, what I got up here, going past the Bible. Now I'm going to get on the marriage before kids. Should people marry before they carry? I've heard Anton Daniels talk about that as the right path to making sure your relationship is solid. Marry your best friend, marry before you carry, build wealth together, and then go from there. Does being married first actually help the relationship before you bring in the kids? I mean, it definitely could, depending on the type of marriage you have. If you marry for the right reasons and you actually went through the whole steps of commitment, like I say, first you getting to know the person, and then next commitment, we living with each other, trying to learn each other's routines. Does this person snore? Does this person leave clothes on the floor? Does this person leave the water running? What's the routine? Are we able to master that commitment of living with each other. And okay, once we master that, now we can possibly thinking about marrying each other. Now that's another commitment in itself. So let's go through this whole marriage thing for 2 or 3 years to see how that works. We're married now. We under the same roof. Did we succeed in that? Well, we now can add a third person, a child, into the mix. So I think marrying before you carrying, if you do the right steps, can work. But at the same time, you have people who just get married and they aren't really questioning each other. And so they get married first, then still have a child, and things still fall apart. And you can look back and say, oh, they followed all of the steps, but there's sub steps to step 1 and step 2 before you can actually get to bringing a child into it. And so I think marry before you carry can work, but we've seen time and time again where it fails too. But I think that's just because the people who are married shouldn't have been married in the first place. Not yet, weren't ready. And so now you're trying to fix the marriage and you don't want to get divorced. So what people do, oh, let's have a baby and see if that's going to fix the marriage. No, it's going to make things worse. Stop doing that. Stop having a child thinking it's going to fix your relationship, whether you're married or not. I see too many people doing that. Stop it. You're just going to make things worse. Divorce, child support, alimony, all of that, headache. You're going to ruin it. And then your child looking around trying to see why they had 2 homes, why mom and dad split up. And some children internalize that and think, was it my fault if they old enough when it happens? Did I make mom and dad mad at each other? They constantly asking questions, why? Mommy's house, daddy's house, what happened to our house? So it's just something to think about. So let me get to the next thing. This part. How do men and women question each other effectively to determine if they are the right choice for each other? I mean, there's so many questions that have to be asked, and they'll come in time. But I think we only ask surface level questions at first. And that's the whole thing. What we're talking about, what's your name? How old you are? Do you have a job? Do you have any kids? And do you live by yourself? Those are the initial questions, but that's only surface level. And sometimes that's as far as people get. They just have a little list that they're checking off, but that's not enough. There's more questions that have to be asked in order to really vet this person effectively. And more questions will come as you see, how they carry themselves. When you all outside together, when y'all inside, stuff that they watch, listen to what they listen to, topics going on, whether it be politics or religion, see where they come at on that. We got to open the questions up. Again, I think the questions become surface, so the next questions just also become about what do you like to do for fun? What do you like to eat? Have you ever been here out of town? That might be nice. Have you traveled? That's all fine, but again, that's just leading back to you cute, I'm cute, this is fun. It's good to know those things, but you got to really see where people stand on issues. Talk about abortion with that person. Talk about what deal breakers are. Ask them their relationships with their mom and their dad. If their mom and their dad is on the other side, how was it? Observe that. And try and get into things that they wish had happened when they were smaller and what mom and dad didn't do and how, if that's still affecting them to this day. Because again, a lot of people need to go sit on the couch with their mom and their dad. They shouldn't even be in a relationship until they do that. But, people don't necessarily want to do that. And they just want to jump into a relationship to make them feel better, almost use the relationship like a drug. So, like you popping the pill just to make you feel better. And if that person tries to bring up childhood issues, then you break bad on them and tell them, you're not here for that. When relationship, the way it's set up, is all about that and us trying to correct the issues that we see in the other person that reflects right back to us. That's why we together in the first place. That's how we attracted each other. But people don't understand that they looking at a mirror with that person they're in a relationship with. That's your mirror. That's why you all are holding hands or out to eat or having sex with each other in the first place. Don't underestimate that. Don't forget that. So we gotta ask, and the questions probably will come organically to us. I'm not saying write down the list, but don't be afraid to ask them at certain times to ask it. You all laying down in the bed with each other, just pillow talking, they can come there. Out on the front porch, quiet time. And then just see what the answers are. And see if those answers change. Relationships are like they evolve, go this way, go that way. The men and the women, you two are going to have values change, opinions change, and that's fine. I would definitely tell both men and women to have an open mind, especially if you got a person that's more religious, another person that's more spiritual, person that's political, other person that doesn't vote, a person that's college educated, other person that only finished high school. We have to have an open mind into all of this. Now I do. If someone told me, if the lady told me, hey, I don't deal with God is not real, I would say, okay, do tell. And how did she get to that conclusion? What she's been through. Whereas some other people, that would be a deal breaker. No, my mind is more open than that, to where you tell me something that's out of left field and let me see why you chose that path. So, you want to try and both be open-minded as well in order for your relationships to work. If one of you all is not open-minded, that could cause problems. More so for the person that I would say is trying to be more spiritual, because they trying to reach a different level of consciousness, and so they don't mess with religion. They informed about politics, but the things that people are being told to do just so you can survive, believe this, go to school here, work for that company so you can pay your bills and retire. They may be more closed-minded because this is what they've been told. This is how you make it in the world. Whereas that person that may be riding on a more conscious level, saying, okay, that's what we've been told, but what have we told ourselves? We still operating off of thoughts given to us. And how can you call yourself an adult if you never had an original thought of your own? Your whole outline of your life has been by what people have told you to do, starting with mom and dad, then TV, then radio, then your teacher. What have you told yourself? And so that's where the open mind really comes into. Please try and have an open mind if you can. Ladies and gentlemen out here who are dating, try and open up your mind more. That'll maybe help you better understand the person who you're dating. And then, maybe watch some things that they're into that may be more esoteric, meaning things that aren't meant to be understood by the general public. The exoteric stuff, the EXO, that's easy. That's entertainment, football, NBA, all of that. That's easy to understand. Movies, what we talking about more esoteric things, what we dealing with spirituality and karma and near-death experiences, people who are on the other side, just origins of society, what's really going on. Maybe they'll dive deep into some conspiracy. It's a lot of other things out here. Stuff dealing with cardology, tarot readings, astrology. The rabbit hole can go deep. who's really in charge politically, the Roman Catholic Church, and all of those conversations, aliens that people don't necessarily like to have, and the people that do get looked at crazy. If the person you're with is on that frequency, if you have an open mind, try and let them show you what they're viewing to get a better understanding, and if you still want to be with that person. I'm not saying what they're into would be a deal breaker, but just having an open mind would help with the relationship, in terms of the next questions that we want to ask each other to see if this is the person we should be with as time goes on. We have to ask questions. I don't know the number, but it's a lot, and like more will come, more will generate. Certain questions will get remixed as time goes along when you're with this person. So we need to keep all of that in mind. So let me keep going. There's also another question. Now, Corey Holcomb said he believes a man can never break up the household. He says a woman gives her power to that man once she has kids with him, and the only other thing higher than him is God. And that woman gives that man, that father, that power to lead her. And he said it's impossible for a man to create a broken home. He said only women can do that. Now, who out there agrees with Corey Holcomb, the comedian from Chicago, that only men can't break up a home, only women can? That's a big statement, because I look at it as there's 4 things that creates a single dad or a single mom. Mom has passed away, went to the other side, or dad, in jail. The other parent don't want the other parent around, or the mother or father just ran off. Those are the 4 things that create a single dad or a single mom, and ultimately leads to the household being broken up. So if you just don't want that other person around, you can be, I think, accused of breaking up the home. So that could be the man as well. He can break up the home. It's not just the woman can. She's the only one that can create a broken home. So I think what Corey may be coming from is the men that woman is with, that these women are with, that they just shouldn't have had kids with in the first place. And so he's automatically going to skip out and not really be there. And so that's going to break the home. So, again, asking the right questions so we are careful with who we choose before we even get to, the whole having babies part. So, yeah, his statement is bold. I don't know who all 100% agrees with it, that only women can create broken homes. But, like I just gave you the 4 reasons that makes a single dad or a single mom, And if you got a woman or a man that just, look at Pursuit of Happiness from 2006, Will Smith, portrayed the character in the movie, and his wife, she ducked out on the family. So now he's a single dad raising their son. So anything like that, now the home was broken. So it could go either way. Not just only women can break up the home, so the household. So, and each situation is unique, it's different. So that's something to look at. And so as I get ready to wrap it up here, I think we have to put everything into perspective about who we want, what we want. Some people have passed over who they're supposed to be with. They might probably still around each other, but just don't know how to connect with each other. They may be dealing with other people right now, but that doesn't mean that they're still going to not circle back to each other and end up getting together. It's just the way the energy works. I mean, you can feel it. I think we have to stop being in denial once we get around these people too. Being scared to, some people don't want to mess up the friendship, but like I said, marry your best friend. You've seen these people who you can, guys, you've seen this lady, maybe more than one lady who you able to hang out with and just be cool. Ladies, you've seen these men that's like, man, these guys is solid. Yet these you all still keep going out on dates with brand new people instead of looking at who's already in your cell phone contacts. When we talk about marrying our best friend of the opposite sex, because that's the person that, truly understands you. They probably know you almost as good as you know yourself. But people be scared to mess up the friendship. I get it, but I don't think you'll mess it up. It'll evolve into till death do you part. Whether you all get legally married or not, that's neither here nor there. And that's, like I say, government brings the law in, certain marital benefits, but regardless of all of that, we just talking about people who are equally yoked right there, as normally as, a man and a woman who are friends with each other are. That's the person that's just always been around. They just don't go. They always asking you, hey, here and there, what you doing? I'm at this. What you do? What you on today? Take all that into consideration. Just take some time out to look back over the years on guys who those ladies were, ladies who those guys were, and then just narrow it down to the one. Well, it may have only just been that one. Some people it's been multiples. Guys can have more than one female friend. Ladies can have more than one guy friend. And so, but don't be afraid to, step out on, how you feel and, give things a chance with your friend if need be. That kind of even takes the whole dating thing out of it. I've heard people say they don't even believe in dating. It's that friendship, and from there the questions just naturally come, and then you all end up getting together. So it's really not even no dating, because you've gotten to get to know each other as friends. I think everything just naturally and organically falls into place. So, check in with, your friend too. And remember, like I said, who you're with right now, even if you're married, it's not necessarily your end game, prerequisite. But you two have to go through each other in order to get to who you're going to spend the rest of your life with. So when it ends, don't be upset or sad. It's supposed to end. Both of you all have someone coming that it's not going to end, but you have to see this through. Learn the lesson. That person in front of you is your lesson, who you holding hands with and saying you in a relationship with. That is your lesson. Learn the lesson. So, let me know what you all think in the comments down below. Are you married? Are you divorced? Are you a parent? Are you thinking about being a parent now? If you are a parent, are you the example of who you want your child to marry? Talking to the fathers and the mothers out here. Men, are you the type of man you want your daughter to marry? Are you the type of man that you want your son to be? Ladies, are you the type of woman you want your son to marry? Are you the type of woman you want your daughter to be? Please answer that honestly if you are a parent right now and you're listening to this. Because it's crucial, it's important. This is all an ecosystem. And your children will be dating their children. And then when they come home, at 15, bringing whoever home as they go through their dating cycle, and now they come in with the same complaints that you had, then obviously we're not moving forward, because your kids shouldn't be having the same complaints about the opposite sex that you had. That means, okay, we're a new generation in and we still have the same complaints. Where's the disconnect between the men and the women here, where we still complaining about who pays for the first date and et cetera, et cetera. Just these same questions that people are trying to, switch the answers on, things like that. And if you all want to go Dutch on the first date, maybe, then, let that man and that woman agree to that. She paid for hers, he paid for his. And I'm not even saying that we at dinner eating, and you all can just be going on a coffee date, wherever you're meeting up at, whatever, the first date is to you. But there should be certain standards, certain expectations, just, the overall look of how that energy is with that person. And mom and dad, that's going to start with you all right now, who are parents listening to this. Or do you feel you can be an even better example based on what you're seeing out here on social media to kind of help your son or your daughter once they get old enough to date, or if they're already old enough to be able to question effectively, the right person for them. So please take all of that into consideration. Again, you all let me know down in the comments what you all think and why you should be the person that you want your child to marry. Not your child marry you. No son husbands, no son wife, none of that, where mom is elevating her son to be her husband, or dad is making his little princess his wife. None of that. No. Someone from the outside. Why you should be the person that you want them to marry. Not you, but they know what to look for. So like, share, and subscribe. The channel is Facts or Feelings. I'm giving you both right now, a little balance of facts and feelings. That's all one word. Search for it on YouTube, Facts or Feelings, no spaces. My channel comes right up. And I'm out. Be the example.